and you know my name. You know racing cars is my favorite game, and you know I can't be beat when I'm in the driver's seat. See, I got a lead foot and gas in my veins. God put a V8 where he should have put brains. There ain't a race I haven't run. There ain't a race I haven't won. And it's been 7 days since I've won a race, and I don't plan on leaving this place till I've won another. Send you crying home to your mother. See, I got the car, the skill, the crew, the will. God hates a sinner, but he loves a winner. You dare to show your face? Come on, Ace. Let's race. 43 cars on the field, and I'm sitting on the pole. Pace car's gone, the green flag drops, 500 miles to go. Let's race.
24 cars, left hand side. Go low, come on. You got him. 17 cars taking a high road.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Joe Larson. You're watching the 505 on Racing Show. Welcome. Hope everybody had a good week, and I hope we recovered as best we can from this, what they now call Superstorm Sandy. Hope everybody's back in their homes, or at least well on their way to getting back in their homes, because this was a tough thing. And I know people are still digging out, cars are still buried in sand, but you know the best thing is we're here. We're not gone. We're alive. We made it through. You know, Mother Nature's going to sock out what it wants to us, but we're survivors here. So up here on Long Island, we're all survivors. But anyway, some good news. I got word from my son Brian. He's going back to Afghanistan. Excuse me. But he was supposed to go December 23rd. He will be home for New Year's, so that's a good thing. But he'll be going shortly thereafter, and that's not such a good thing. But so as he said, somebody's got to do it, and this is what he signed up to do. So for all of those who sent me their wishes and their prayers for him, I thank you. So anyway, quiet week. The NASCAR Top Series Cup Nationwide and Truck had their banquet in Las Vegas as they had Champions Week. And for those of you who watched the banquet, I was one of them. I think 4 hours was a little bit too long. However, I know why it was 4 hours, because people had to get the companies had to get their commercials in, and somebody had to pay for the 4 hours of airtime. But I guess considering our choice was the banquet or the Barrett-Jackson auctions, I guess we went to the banquet. But I'll tell you what, I've been to many banquets, the NASCAR touring series and some of the other series as well, and of course local track banquets. And I'll tell you what, when you sit down and look, I'm not saying champions and top fives and top tens and rookies and all that kind of. I'm not saying they shouldn't get their due, but it shouldn't take 4 hours. It was incredible, and these things are scripted out. Let me tell you, I used to present at one of the banquets, and I had to go for 3 hours to a dress rehearsal, and where they timed out second by second, where there was marks on the floor where you had to stand. There was marks backstage where you had to stand before you went to the other mark where you had to stand. And you read off a teleprompter, which was kind of cool, because for those who've never done something like this, there's a clear screen in front of you. From the audience or from TV, it just looks like a clear screen. I always thought, people are going to think I'm nuts, I always thought that was like a bulletproof thing in case somebody wanted to shoot you. Because I saw the president had it, the chief of states, or the heads in Congress. Whenever I saw them do a speech, they had one of those things. So here I am, I'm on stage, and Mike Joy is doing his thing, and I go, it's my turn, to do my jersey. I'm looking at this thing, and they tell me about this teleprompter, because whatever I'm going to say is all scripted, and I'm saying this teleprompter is on the other side of this massive room, and I'm like, I can't see this teleprompter. All of a sudden, the red light goes on. It's my turn, and on this. Looks like a piece of acrylic, bulletproof glass type of thing. There's my thing that I'm saying, my speech. So I was kind of impressed by that. But I'm telling you, when I tell you to the second, at dress rehearsal, they'll tell you to speak slower or speak quicker, because your presentation is only allowed so many seconds. and then they allow so many seconds for the person to get up onto the stage, and so many seconds to shake their hand and give them their plaque or their check or their trophy, and then you go off to the side and take pictures. So, you know, when I look at this 4-hour thing, and I'll tell you what, NASCAR was, not that they weren't happy, they were a little concerned with Keselowski, because when you go to these dress shows, you hand in your script. This is my script, and they key it into the. He said, "I don't have a script. I'm going right from the heart." And they were not happy. You know, they were worried. They were concerned he was going to run over. And as it was, I think he was over by a minute or two. But it's just one. How many? I love, you know, every once in a while he's out of the corner of my eye. He's something in the chat room, and WJ from myracenews.com. How many people want to shoot me? Hey, WJ, you know better than I. Okay, there's a line. There's definitely a line. But it's when you do these things, and even race day, they have what they call a minute by minute or second by second. What's going at 12:03? We're going to line up and do this. At 12:04, do the invocation. At 12:06, I mean down to. You know, and somebody's doing a countdown in your ear. You can hear them saying, "All right, 5, 4, 3." You hear that going down. It's that detailed and that detail orientated. So, but 4 hours. Let me tell you something. That was a bit much. It really was. And you know how it's going to end. The champion's going to go up and do a speech. He's going to get his ring. He's going to get all his trophies and and all that kind of good stuff. But 4 hours, and do we really need like the dancing and the groups and the singing and the stand-up comedy? Come on, it's I'm telling you, the silly jokes that Howie Mandel was saying. If you realize some of the stuff that just wasn't him, and every once in a while he reminded you of that. You know, he'd say, "That's what they're making me read off the teleprompter." But I think it needs to be reworked, the banquet, and 4 hours is just way too much time. And when you consider that these people start arriving at the banquet for the red carpet thing, probably around 5 o'clock, Eastern time, let's say. Well, I know when I'm going to Charlotte this Friday morning for the Touring Series banquet. It's the same exact setup, same exact layout. There's a little stage in the middle of the floor where you're sitting with the tables and eating. And those folks, there's comedians, there's singers, there's entertainment. And you know what? Yeah, all right, it's good, but here's your hardware, here's your money. Have a good day. See you next year. Just my opinion. I don't know. Like I said, I've been to all kinds of banquets, and the good thing though, when I go to these banquets, these I'm going to call them upper series banquets. Aside from the weekly thing, when you go to these banquets, and like we said here, it's skirt. But when you go to these things, there's a little. I'm going to say the audience has a little bit more respect than at some of the weekly banquets I've been at, and where people just don't care. It's just about their guy or their team or whatever. Because there are times I've been to some of the weekly racing series banquets, and I couldn't hear what the track champion in the feature division had to say, because everybody just ignored it and chatted and talked, and the problem for that is when you include unlimited drinks at some of these things, people feel that they have to get their whatever they pay, $65 a person. They got to get their $50 worth of booze in them, and then they start acting like idiots. And I think that's what happens. And I think what they need to do is eliminate that. When I go to these upper banquets, you're given 2 drink tickets, and that's it. So you could drink 2 shots right then and there, slam it down, be done, or you could take a big, tall, large beer and nurse it a little bit. Because once your 2 tickets are used, there are no others, unless of course you trade with somebody. And WJ brings up a good point at My Race News. They're scattered across this whole country. Everybody has a Daytona party. Why? Not because they want to see you, not because they want to have all their friends watch these parties at their bar or their club or their restaurant or whatever establishment they have or the hall they rented. It's because they want to make money. That's the bottom line. So they pack 200 people into a place that's designed for 100, and they're going to include this or they're going to include that. Well, you know what? It's not free, and you just, it's shoulder to shoulder. You can't see, you can't hear. It's it's like going to an NFL game and you're sitting in the 300 section. You're better off watching it at home. You know, you really are. And it's really good to see people and have a good time. But you know, I don't know. You know, we talked about it last year at NRadio about having a Daytona 500 party, and it just when we sat down and really put our heads together, talked about it. You know, we thought about this. We thought about there's a local. I'm not going to say who it was because they're going to accuse me of bad mouthing them, so I'll leave it alone. But as you can imagine, there's probably 4 or 5 Daytona 500 parties right here on Long Island, and one of them it was so crowded that you had to go outside, and not go outside to have a cigarette. You had to go outside because there was no room in the place. Now, if the fire marshal came, he would have evicted, you know, not evicted, but he would have asked some people to leave because they were definitely way beyond how many they would have. And what I feel you're going to do, if you're going to have a Daytona 500 party, it should be by, I don't know, I have 100 tickets, the first 100 people are in. And that's it. You know, if you don't have a ticket, you're not in. You know, it's just one of those things. You know, I don't know, WJ. If we had a Daytona 500 party at Studio A, we could probably hold like 20 people. And they would have to be thin. Okay, so there just isn't enough room. And then you need to get TVs in there. Then you need to get so you could hear it, and then you have to have seats. And if you have seats, and then you have to have tables for the food. Now you're just limited to taking your 20 people or 15. But it's a good thought, you know. But WJ, if we do that, we will put you on the list because you support our show and other shows here at NRadio, and we're on your websites, and we appreciate that here at NRadio. But anyway, you know, when I looked at that banquet, yeah, it was quiet, it was nice. But you know what I noticed too? There were tables up near the front that had empty seats. I'm sure those people either went to the men's room or the ladies' room or not. But the Academy Awards, they hire people to stand in the back, and when somebody gets up from their seat to go answer the call of nature, they fill that seat so there's no empty seats. I bet you didn't know that. That's what happens. That's what happens. But oh man, Mike Mosher, how you doing, buddy? I'm gonna see you in a couple of days. Mike Mosher, one of the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour officials that I've spent a lot of time with, and good guy. He's one of the new guys on our tour, and he fit right in with us. So it's good to see. And you know, it's funny. We're up in New Hampshire, and while we're up there, he had this lot. He had these double lobsters, man. You had to see these. There was no way. I thought there's no way he's finishing them. Not only did he finish those, he ate what was on his wife's dish too. You know, it was kind of funny, but now we don't have to behave. We're off duty. We're not like cops. We don't work 24/7. WJ, you know me by now. You know what? Do they serve lobster? Where do they serve lobster? They serve lobster here at Studio A. You know, I usually don't save any for anybody else, but it's all good. It's all good. But you know, I'm funny. You know, it's funny that nobody made a comment as to anything that they see different here today. I'm kind of surprised that nobody's mentioned it. But then again, I don't see Jay Slice here tonight, so he would have been one of the first guys to notice any differences. You know, so there you go. Smooshy saying no hat. Now there's 2 reasons I don't have a hat, and one of the reasons is the truth. And one of the reasons I'm going to make up for entertainment purposes. So you figure out which one is this. One is I'm turned over a new leaf, and the other is I left it in my car. You decide which is the real one, because I guess you'll figure that out. It was oh, okay. I didn't see that, WJ. But yeah, there's no hat. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we come back. I want to discuss some concerns that were brought to my attention on the future of the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. So we're going to talk about that when I come back, and be ready. Okay, we're back. Yeah, you know, it's this off season. It's really never an off season because the next season starts the day after the last season ended. At least that's what I was taught when I was at UPS. Is you know, when does wrap up begin? It's at the start of the job, and when does the start of the job begin? At wrap up. So anyway, I received I'm going to say 3 or 4 phone calls over the last couple of weeks in regards to the what's the word I'm gonna use, because I got to be careful here. The future. Let's say the future of the Whelen Modified Tour, and yeah, WJ still know how. And a couple of teams have let me know that they were leaving. They were moving on to other things. One to a weekly series in the feature division, another to another touring series, and I believe it's the MRS. And another one is just not doing it. He said they're not doing it. They're just some of the changes that are being required and requested are just too costly. But I had a long conversation with a crew chief who shall remain nameless last night, and one of the things they said to me is, this series started, and people say the modified started when NASCAR started. You went to the local dealership, you took a car, you modified it, you went racing. You put some safety modifications and maybe changed the rear or whatever. It was a race car. But over the years, over the past 15, 20, even 30 years with the modified tour, it's changed. It's changed, and part of those changes we talked about not too long ago, and it was part of the change was due, in fact, in part, due to the fact that the officials needed to tech the cars, and he needed to have standardization, and he needed to have measurements, and so that nobody had an advantage or a disadvantage. And so back in 1985, when the modified tour was organized, because they were touring, but they weren't touring as a group, and you can go to whatever racetrack you want, and you can race Friday, Saturday, Sunday in one state, and then drive across the country and on Wednesday race on Wednesday. You could race 7 days a week, and all the races counted, and there was no I don't know. There was what was happening was who came out with this type of motor and who came out with that motor and who used this body and who used these spindles and who had this rear and who had that. It was different. It was out of control. So did they have to control it? They didn't have to, but they decided to control it. And in controlling it, for years everything was fine. Everything worked well, and the owners and the fabricators all had a say of what needed to be done, what should be done, and how it should be. And yes, my race news, innovation was successfully removed. They become cookie cutters. And I'll tell you what, if you had a practice day where the teams could come practice and every car showed up in primer with no markings on it, you would not be able to tell who's who. There are some subtle things that, the 6 car has a kind of weird looking body which has been addressed, and that's supposedly not going to happen in 2013. And the 2 car has this sleekness to it that some of the other cars don't have. And then there's some of the cars that that have been they got a roof from this guy, quarter pounder from the other guy, and a hood from this guy, and you might be able to tell that. But for the most part, you couldn't tell them apart. So what NASCAR's done, according to this crew chief who I spoke to at length yesterday, what NASCAR has done is NASCAR is taking it so that it has become a richer man's sport. See, racing was always a rich man's sport if you wanted to do it and do it well. So what happened was, and what's going to happen is this. The touring series, or the modifieds, have to go to this seat in 2013. And it's not like phase it in when the seat that you have wears out, get a new one. It's, if you want to race our series, you got to get this seat. Now, a lot of people were telling me what the seat costs and blah, blah, blah. So, and don't get me wrong, I listen to what people have to say. I really do. But I'm from the old school. Just because you tell me it's gray, I need to find out that if it's really gray. So I made a call to a couple of seat people. And these teams weren't exaggerating. This seat is going to cost them $3,000. $3,000. Now, what's wrong with the seat that we have, in my opinion? And this is my opinion. I think the seat that we have, the full containment seat that we have in the modified cars, are just as safe, if not safer, than the seat that's coming out. All they're doing for this new seat is it has to have an SFI certification and has some other things, of course. But then it doesn't fit in the Troyer cars, which a lot of these teams race. It's just not. I don't know how to explain it without getting in trouble. The Troyer cars the seats have to be retrofitted, and what Troyer has to do is move a bar. Now, that's adding to the cost. Plus, you got to get the car to Troyer because Troyer is not coming to your house or shop. So you're talking $3,500 for this new seat. And guys who have two cars, which a lot of teams do, got to have two of them. So now, this $3,500 is now $7,000. Now, if they qualify for every race, and there's like 15 races, and the last I heard the schedule is not official yet, so I don't know how many exactly they're going to have. But if you qualify for every race and you finish 20th, I'm just picking out, because you finished 20th, you didn't pay for your seat. You're still buying 6, 8, 10 tires every week. That's almost $800 a set. And I don't know. And no, and I'm not an engineer. The bar does not compromise safety. What it is allows the seat to fit in. And I'm not, and forgive me for not knowing this, but I don't know which bar it is. I think it's the 7B bar that has to be moved. So if you know anything about building cars, it's I think we used to call it the brain bar. So I don't know. So, but and WJ, I'm going to say no to they weren't ruled out, but they're tired of every year spending money. Because what they did is, when I say they, what NASCAR did, a couple of years back, or 3 or 4 years back, they were trying to phase out the quick changes, and you went with straight rear. Now all of a sudden, quick changes are mandatory. So what happens to all these guys that threw away or gave away or sold those rears 5, 6 years ago to get the quick change that they can't use anymore, the straight rear that they can't use anymore? They got to go to a quick change. They gave them away. They sold them. They don't have them. That's a problem. Some teams were told not to bring their cars back unless they got new roofs. All the little aero stuff that these clever or creative crew chiefs came up with, to make the cars a little more aerodynamic. They were putting fins and stuff over the shock mounts and stuff to get the air to flow a little better. Now these cars are going to be racing in dirty air, as according to this crew chief. And a series that, and I'm going to tell you, when I first came to the Modified Tour, I was full-time in 2003, and I did a couple of races in 2000, 2001, 2002. So I've been around this series for a long time. And for a series that was sending home non-qualifiers, more non-qualifiers than guys who race a race, to now not even barely fill in the field, not fill in the field. And I can remember showing up at the Icebreaker on a early Friday morning to get tech going, because it was the first one. We go over the cars with a fine-tooth comb. Not that we don't normally, but this is the first inspection of the year, and everything has to be right. I can remember, teching cars from 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and they were still coming in at 5 to 6, and having 40 to 50 cars lined up to be teched in the rain, one time in the snow, in the cold, and the brutalness of those Connecticut springs, where it's still really winter because spring didn't start yet. We don't have that anymore. We were waiting around last year. Any more cars? What do you think? Oh, let's get on the phone. Let's talk. Oh, who's coming? Who's not coming? You look at the entry list, and there's only 28 cars for 38 spots. I'm like, we got a problem here. Okay, we had a problem here, and Mr. Mosher, I heard that too, that there was testing at Richmond, but I don't think it'll be for 2013. I think it'll be 2014, and I don't think it was a prank. I think they were really looking at going there, but for whatever reason, it didn't. It's not. Well, we won't know if it's not happening until we get the schedule Saturday night. But what happens, and a lot of this stuff, a lot of rumors get spread. I'm hearing rumors here in the street about two modified tour races here on Long Island. But if you look at the local website for the local racetrack, whose schedule is like really there, it doesn't show that. And I don't know. I don't know if the local racetrack here on Long Island has the money to put up. They struggle with one tour race, and I don't know if they want to do two. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, getting back to this discussion, the series is in trouble, and why is that? Why is that? And there's a lot of reasons. A lot of people want to blame management, and when I say management, it's the people running the series down in Daytona and down at Concord and Charlotte. A lot of people want to blame the race director. A lot of people want to blame the series director, and a lot of people want to blame the influx of officials who they're not comfortable with. I'm not saying they're not knowledgeable people, because I've talked to the people. I've been shoulder to shoulder with these people. I've sweated with these people, and I froze my butt off with these people. And every official brings something to the table that's part of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. What has changed was this. What changed is a lot of the officials, when I first came on, came from teams, wives of crew chiefs, girlfriends of crew members, husbands of women whose brothers owned cars. Everybody knew each other, and it was a little camaraderie. What's happened now, there's officials in the Whelen Modified Tour, and I could talk about that one because that's my primary one, that are from Florida, that are from Georgia, that are from Tennessee, from North Carolina, from Minnesota. Nobody knows these people. I'm not saying they don't do a good job. They do. They do the best job they can. But the teams are not comfortable with these guys because, and let me erase the because. The powers to be felt, and this is Joe's opinion. This isn't something that Joe knows for a fact. Joe didn't hear this at Angelina's next door to the hotel where we go eat our dinner. This is Joe's opinion. The powers to be, the George Silvermans, the Richard Bucks, the Chad Littles, felt there was a little too much closeness, too much familiarity, too much. If you look around, you see certain officials hanging out with certain teams, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But the powers to be might think that, and that's why you see some different faces in the Modified Tour, from race to race. The guy, this guy, we haven't seen this guy in 4 weeks, and who's this guy? He's never been here. And then they have him do something that they've been comfortable with. See, I've held a lot of jobs at the NASCAR Whelen Modified. I've been race director, I've been safety director, I've been the undercarriage specialist, I've been the body guy. I've done all these things, and I'll tell you what, if I'm a car owner in a series like this, I know what Joe's looking for. So I'm not going to play games with that here, but I know what he misses. So now they need to take Joe out of there. They need to put this other guy in. And that other guy's going to see Joe's things that Joe don't see, because when you look at the same 30 to 40 cars every week, week in and week out, they all start to look the same. So now a new guy comes in, what the hell he's looking at? So he crawls underneath and he goes, oh, gee, whoa, what's this? Oh, Joe missed that. Okay, well, I might have missed that, but you just crawled under a car and you missed 17 other things. I'm not saying that happened. It's just, maybe I am saying it. I don't know. But the other thing is, and the Cup Series does this. On Cup weekend, the Cup will first go in, and at random, they're assigned a car. And they're with that car from the moment that hauler rolls into the garage area till the time they batten the hatch and drive out. That's their car. They might not ever have that car again for the rest of the season, because it's at random. You can't build a relationship. In the past, in the Whelen Modified Team Tour, what was happening was a certain official always had the 4 car. A certain official always had the 2 car. A certain official always had the 3 car. Do you see the pattern here? So what the race director started doing is moving us around. Us as in pit road officials. And you might have the first 2 cars this race, but you might have the last 2 cars next race, and you'll be in the middle 2, 3 races from now. And that, is that a bad thing? I don't say it's a bad thing, but you know what happened? And again, and don't take this wrong, I'm not saying anything wrong or bad against the officials that I work with. But I don't think on a race that's the last race of the year where you have 3 guys that still have a shot at winning a championship, you don't have your least experienced official with 2 of those 3 cars. You need to have your most experienced official with that car. And you need to roll the dice where they're going out the window and say, hey, you know what? We need John Mano with the 4 car. We need Rick McCahey with the 2 car. You know, maybe we need Joe with the 3 car. You know, in a race that important, I shouldn't be with a starting park. It's just my opinion. But it does, WJ, it does keep everybody on their toes. But when you're at that last race of the season and the second to last race of the season, there shouldn't be a guy who's been around forever covering pit stalls 33 and 34. And the pit stalls are assigned by points. And that's just my opinion. And what has happened is, you know, I had a car owner say that to me at the last race. He goes, why do we have this guy? We could win the points tie. We could win the championship. And we have an inexperienced official with us. So you're talking to the wrong guy. You need to talk to the race director. But when you add up all these little things and you know, people get tired that they're being ruled out of the series according to this crew chief. The rule changes cost money, and these teams, some of them don't have that money. They just don't have it. Even the big teams, and there's a big team, I'm not going to say who they are. I had a conversation with a car owner. All I'll say, he's in the top 5 and has won championships. He said, Joey, I can't afford to do this anymore. I can't afford to keep building cars. I have all my cars. I have cars built in my shop, ready to go. And now I got to change them. I got to put seats in them. I have to retrofit bars. I have to change the roof. I have to change the way I mount my shocks. I got to change all these things. You know? And here we go. I just see something going, AJ, you're a pistol. The 33rd and 34th, so I don't have food. There's food in the pit area in the garage. But anyway, but this is what this man was telling me. There's just he can't keep doing this. He can't keep rebuilding stuff. He can't take what's brand new on his race cars and throw it in a bin and say, all right, you know, maybe some weekly guy will buy it. You know, this stuff costs money. It costs money. And you know, when I took over a weekly racetrack, you know, it's been a long time. It's about 15 years ago. One of my biggest gripes as a competitor was I was tired of getting rule changes in March. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford the change. And not only did we get rule changes in March, I'd roll through the pit gate. Hey, we're here. Okay. Oh, here's an addendum. Effective today. You have to have this, or you have to add 200 pounds. What do you mean effective today? You know, effective today, we'll go into these new tires. Well, what about the 20 I just bought? They gone. I got to throw them away. So when I became the head guy, I stopped that nonsense. Because most rule changes, at least in the weekly racing series level, most of those rule changes are designed to make money for people. And it's not the competitor. It's to make money for the guy who sells the parts, or the guy who fabricates the parts, or the guy who has to take those parts and put them on your race car that you have to pay. All right? Or it's, hey, you know what? You know, my profit margin on this tire is only $8 after I pay, you know, my fees, and the track gets their cut and this guy gets his cut. You know, but if I get this tire, everybody has to buy all new ones, and maybe I'm making 10 on that. This is the stuff that goes on. Oh, you know, and that's just what happens. All right? You know, it's just I don't know. You know, and again, talking to this crew chief, you know, his concern was I could go to the MRS series with the car that I have and spend less money. At the same time, the payoff is less. However, the cost to compete is a lot less because they don't have all of that stuff that you have to buy and all the safety and stuff because they don't really have pit stops and the license fees and only the driver and the crew chief or something. They only have to, I get the license, not the whole team, and they're paying weekly pit fees and not paying the exorbitant pit fees that all of a sudden the tracks raise when it becomes a tour show. And there's no inspection fee. It's $125 inspection fee on the Whelen Modified Tour. And if you trash a car in practice and you got to go to a backup car, which some guys have, you got to pay another fee. Think about it, And yeah, I am. And I didn't create these. People call me, people talk to me, and I asked this. I asked one guy to come on the show and call in. A guy's from Connecticut, and this isn't the one I spoke to yesterday. There's another guy. I asked him to call in and discuss it, and he said, I've discussed it with the powers to be, and they didn't listen. He said, but maybe some of this stuff needs to come out in the open. Because I'll tell you what, and I've been around modifieds a long time, the Whelen Modified Tour, in my opinion, is in trouble. And I never thought I would say that. I never thought I would hear a Donald Honig, who's hosted tour races for years, say, I think I'm going to make a road course out of my racetrack, and I don't know about the tour coming back. And you know what? Donald Honig came to one of the races. Not one of them. He comes to all of them. He owns his son and grandson owns the place. But he's there. He's run that place for forever. And he looked at the car count one day. He looked at and he said, "There's 28 cars here. What's going on? What's going on?" And he was angry. He was angry because he gets all those fees. He gets a lot of the, not all of it, he gets a lot of the fees that are paid by these teams to race there. Of course he gets the pit fees, but there's other fees that he gets as well. And when there's only 28 cars and he's counting on 50, that's a big chunk of change that he's not getting. And people want to see, time trials that mean something, not just with timing for position, but they're timing for who's racing and who's not. And and AJ's asking, I haven't heard a good reason for the new seat yet. Supposedly it's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be safer, SFI approved and all that kind of good stuff. It's a NASCAR approved seat. And I don't know if NASCAR is getting a cut out of the seat. I don't know, but I do know this. To be the official anything in NASCAR, whether you're official soft drink guy, the official express delivery carrier, the express water guy, if you are the NASCAR person for that, and these companies are paying a fee, and no WJ, they were not. Okay, and I'll tell you what, Mike, Donald Honig wanted heat races. He wanted to run the old 300 his way. NASCAR said no. It's one of those things. And I read that too, Rovan. Hey, Rov, how you doing, buddy? I heard that the Valenti Modified Racing Series has 19 races next year as well. And the difference between that, and I'm going to tell you, they could go to a place like Stafford or Thompson and run for $10,000 purse and put on a damn good show. But the Modified Tour at those same places are running for an $80,000 purse. Now, as a promoter, who are you going to put on your racetrack? Less cost, bigger return. All right? And I don't know. See, Moshe's been going to mods since the 60s. I didn't know you were that old, buddy. Since the 60s. That's like 50 years ago. Man, that's like, wow. 40, over 50 years ago. Well, it depends on what part of the 60s. But I shouldn't laugh. I started going stock car races in mid-60s, 1965. Freeport Municipal Stadium here on Long Island, and Isis Speedway in the early 70s. Riverhead in the late 70s. I even went to Bridgehampton. I even went to West Hampton. There were tracks here on Long Island to go to. But you know what happens? You would think that promoters and sanctioning bodies would learn from the errors of the past. You would think. And look what happened, man, I'm going to hear about this one. The IRL and Indy, and the Indy Race League and CART, when they, went their separate ways. Were they kidding me? What did they think was going to happen? Did they think that was going to be a good thing? Oh, let's take 40 cars that show up at this racetrack, and you know what? Let's divide and conquer here, because all they did was conquer themselves, and let's send 20 to go race at this place and 20 to go race at that place. And I think that's what's happening. And the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was so strong 5, 6, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, that a series like the MRS wouldn't even try to come out. True Value tried to come out and didn't make it. We're backing from True Value, and they didn't make it. That's how strong they were, because nobody wanted to go race for those smaller purses. And exactly, a quote from Abe Lincoln: "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And that's what's happening now. And the other problem that I see, and this is a biggie, and this is one of my pet peeves, is this 15 race schedules. Back in I guess 10 years ago when I came on board here, there was, I believe, there were 26 races my first year. I have I don't have it anymore. I had a T-shirt that listed the schedule, and it was, the writing was small because there were so many races, and I believe there was 26 races that went from April to October. Do the math. There's like 30 weeks from April 1st to the end of October. We didn't race Mother's Day, and there was a couple other weekends we didn't race either because of the way it fell, and we were in Loudon on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so we didn't race that weekend before sometimes, or there was a week off after a road course. But now what's happened, there's 15 shows, and a couple get rained out, so that makes 13. So if you're a racer, you didn't build your race car to keep it on Jack's engine in your shop. You built your race car to go racing. And when people say, "Oh, no, nobody can afford it," come on. They afforded it 10 years ago, and it was all relative. The purses and the costs were all relative. So don't go chatting into my chat room how that, oh, no, that's too much money to race every week. Then you're not a racer. I don't hear guys who have boats and go fishing every week. "Oh, it's too expensive, gas." You got a boat, you go fishing. You got a race car, you go racing. You got a set of golf clubs, you go play golf. So you got a gun, you go hunting. It's that simple. All right? Yes. We have 1994, 28 races when we won the championship. There you go. All right? And yes, racing, it's, you look at the tour schedule as last year, because I didn't see this year's yet. We raced, had the icebreaker in the beginning of April, and then we had 3 weeks off, then we ran Stafford for the Spring Sizzler. Then there was a month off. There was like 4 or 5 weeks off. And then we raced once in May, and once in June, and twice in July, and then bam, the schedule got crazy. And there were big races. It's just a tough thing, That's another part of the problem, okay? That the schedule is just so weak, and I don't know who makes the schedule anymore. I can't get a straight answer, but there's people. That's what I was told when I asked, who makes the schedule? Who gets with the tracks and promotes our race? Oh, they're people. Do these people have a name? No, it's just people. NASCAR makes the schedule. With the tracks. But I remember when Ed Cox made the schedule, and Ed Cox, the series director who was replaced by Chad, because Ed went on to do other things with NASCAR. He's a special services representative. He gets with the racetracks and he helps promote the weekly racing series and offers ideas and suggestions to the others. And I don't think anybody listens to him, because what he would do is he would call a racetrack, "Hey, how about putting on a tour race?" But he didn't call them like for now. He called them last year for next year. And he'd make a deal with them, and he'd do this, and some of the tracks, "Oh, I can't afford it." Then back when Long Island had 3 tour races, that was Ed Cox making that happen. Because he had this way, a good Southern gentleman had a way of talking to people to convince them to do things, you know. And you're right. It was one in June and one in July. Okay, and I believe there was one in May and there was two in April, but the April ones were like 4 weeks apart. But you know, so Ed would talk to these promoters and get races, and we'd go to places, and there's places that we don't go to anymore. When I say we, the Wheeling Modified Tour, there's places that we don't go to anymore, and I've got to ask myself why. We don't go to Richmond. Put on a hell of a good show there. We don't go to Beech Ridge up in Maine. We don't go to Holland up in New York. We don't go to Seekonk anymore. We put a good show on at Seekonk. We just started going back to Waterford, and we didn't go there for a few years. There's just places that we need to be going to. And do we really need to limit ourselves to just up here in the Northeast? I don't think so. North Wilkesboro is still a working racetrack that I think would be perfect for the modified. We don't go there. It's not even a thought. Mansfield, we don't go to Mansfield anymore. And I'll tell you what, even though the place is in the middle of nowhere, it was awesome. And you're right, we don't go to Pocono. We could put a good show on at Pocono. And I really feel that we could run these mile-and-a-half racetracks. These mile-and-a-half cookie-cutter racetracks, I think we could race with the right restrictor plate. We could put on a damn good show there, you know. And we don't go to Martinsville anymore. And Martinsville was, man. And what they should do at Martinsville is put us in Cup weekend. Let us run Thursday or Friday during Cup weekend, you know, because there's nothing really going on. I mean, do these guys really need 4 hours of practice, the Cup guys? Give us an hour to put a race on. We'll qualify Thursday, we'll race Friday, let us race. Because if they can't figure out their car in 4 hours, maybe those crew chiefs might want to go find a job at Walmart or something. Because they dial themselves right out. They're the fastest guy in practice. Then they go qualifying and they're 23rd. Why? Because they dialed themselves out because they practice too doggone much. Because they're trying to find the perfect set of tires. You know what? Here's 6 tires, go race. Make it happen. Because back in the 60s and the 70s, you didn't get 16 sets of tires. You were lucky if you got one sometimes. You know? It's I don't know. But yep, North Wilkesboro, and it's still a working racetrack. We should go there. And we're going to Jennerstown. We put on a heck of a show in Jennerstown. I had a good time there. I flagged there too, I think. You know, I had a good time. Good time. I'm gonna take a break there, and we'll be back, and I get to rant some more about what I feel about here. We'll be back.
YouNeedAPart.com. Fast and free, the internet's top used parts locator service. Over 3 million part searches since 2001. Salvage yards, sell more parts. Become a member today. YouNeedAPart.com. Tell them you heard it on Radio.com.
This is not your daddy's radio. Well, unless he's cool in Radio.com, broadcasting to the world.
And we're back. I just want to let you know, I didn't succumb to peer pressure, because I would never do that. But I got a little intern guy running around. He went and got the hat for me. All right, everybody's happy. You know, I got my little hat. That's not actually a little hat. But anyway, WJ, you crack me up, I'll tell you. But yeah, the Wheeling Modified Tour. And I'll tell you what, it's not only the Wheeling Modified Tour. You have the same issues in the Cup Series, the nationwide. I mean, their schedule is a heck of a lot better. But when you look back, and if you take out the multi-car teams, you're not filling the field. You know, if Joe Gibbs showed up with one car, if Hendrick showed up with one car, Richard Petty Motorsports showed up with one car, Michael Waltrip Racing showed up with one car, you know, Childress showed up with one car, you wouldn't fill the field. You know. And yeah, you know, the North-South shootout down in Caraway, the car count, they were bad too. You know, and a lot of people want to blame money, finances, the economy. You know what? There was some days that the economy just wasn't that good. and people still won't race him. And I don't understand it. Anyway, it is what it is. But before I continue on the Joe rant today, I want to just go over some things real quick. Okay. Like we started off talking about Brad Keselowski. Actually, I didn't say Brad Keselowski. I just said the Cup banquet. And he got his championship ring and his $5 million, and then he did his unscripted speech. And it just wasn't. I don't know. Just the banquets, the Cup, it just aren't what they used to be. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. But Ryan's Law creator, the Ryan's Law creator, won the Betty Jane France Award. Lori Sheehy helped change insurance coverage for those afflicted with autism. So she got the Betty Jane France Award. I believe that was only the second year that they've offered that. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the Most Popular Driver Award, his 10th consecutive. Yeah, I'm going to say this. I've seen him in action. And he has a lot of people that he knows that votes for him. And I'm going to tell you a story about what I experienced and saw firsthand at Daytona International Speedway during Speed Weeks, I'm going to say 3 years ago, maybe 4. He was out and about, and as you know, the Daytona garage is very fan-friendly, and there's people on the roof and people behind this little thing. You can put your hand in and get lug nuts and stuff. But those who were lucky enough to have hot passes and have free access to the garage, his crew was working on his car, and he was kind of standing there, but the car was pushed out because he didn't want to deal with the people by the window, in my opinion. Okay? So he went over to one of his people and said, can you get these people out of here? So you really can't get them out of there. So what they did is they made a line, and you can't go past this line. But once you say to people you can't do something, they have to push the boundaries, number one. Number two, all the other people who were walking around needed to go find out what was going there as well. So what happened? Then he got his, and I think it was his bodyguard, because somebody told me, and I asked, who's that guy? It's his bodyguard, who stood between him and the fans. And I'm talking this 20 feet. It's not like they were toe-to-toe. And when that didn't get the people away, they called security. And security made everybody keep moving. You couldn't stay there. I don't know how a guy like that gets most popular driver. A most popular driver would have been out there with a scripto, and he would have been signing whatever those people had, from T-shirts to hats to underwear to body parts. That's what a most popular driver does. That's what a Richard Petty does. Okay, you take advantage of the crowd. They're the people that are paying these God-crazy fees to buy a ticket and get there and have hotel rooms. So those people want to get your autograph, and you need to get the pen out and start signing. That's my opinion. All right, Jeff Gordon received the Myers Brother Award for lifetime contributions to stock car racing for his extensive cancer-fighting efforts through the Jeff Gordon Foundation. In fact, when he got emotional talking about it. So that's, but then Jeff Gordon gets emotional about most everything. Stewart Haas Racing extended partnerships. The 4 partners agreed to sponsor Ryan Newman's 39 for 10 races in 2013. Wicks Filters, Outback Steakhouse, and Code 3 Associates will come on as primary sponsors in 2013, joining Quicken Loans, who will be on Newman's 39 for 18 of those races in 2013. And as I said here a couple of weeks ago, the trucks are going to be racing on dirt. People kind of laughed at me. They didn't believe me. Well, on July 24, 2013, the Truck Series will make their dirt debut at Eldora Speedway in Ohio. The half-mile track is owned by Sprint Cup regular Tony Stewart, former champion. And a second race will be run on August 21st. Now, for those who don't know, Eldora Speedway is dirt. Bringing NASCAR back to a dirt track for the first time in many, many, many years. That should be interesting. And I also got to say, you know what? These trucks, they need to be on those short tracks. They don't need to be at Daytona. They don't need to be at those big racetracks. They need to be at the short tracks. They need to be at these places that are a mile and less. You know, Eldora is a half-mile dirt track. I'm telling you what, I don't think there'll be a body panel that doesn't have a mark on it when that race is over. You know, they got a 22 race schedule starting at Daytona on the 22nd of February, ending at Homestead on November 15th. So it should be interesting. But like I said this a long time ago, the trucks should be on the short track. The trucks should be at Bristol. They should be at Martinsville. They should be at Richmond. They should be at Thompson. They should be at Mansfield. They were at Mansfield. They need to be at these places. They need to be at these little tracks. And yeah, they send the trucks to Thompson and Stafford and a place like that, and the mods. That would be like awesome. I think the only thing that keeps them from going to places like that is the seating capacity. Just one of those things. Elliott Sadler signed with Joe Gibbs Racing for 2013. He'll be driving a JGR nationwide car. It'll be a good deal for him. And it's all good. It's all good. But I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to 2013, at least in the top 3 series, because I think the changes in that truck schedule, putting them on dirt, I think that's going to be awesome. I think if that goes up well, you're going to see more of that. And they really need to do that. And yeah, some of these tracks, as Moshe points out, is you need to get the softballs up. You know, Stafford has them, Thompson has them. You know, places that we go to, half mile and up, all I believe have them. It's those little places like Monadnock and Riverhead. They don't have the softballs. You know, and I'll tell you what, I agree, Race News. There are enough seats at Thompson for the trucks, because I think, you know, that you could do that. I think Thompson holds like 9,000 people in the grandstands, and not count what they put in the backstretch with the campers. So I think that would be an awesome show. You know, make them part of the icebreaker or something. But then again, he's putting a road course there, so who knows if the modifieds will even be back? I don't know. But it would work. It would work. It would work. And you know, when you look at that, the truck series when it came out, you know, it had different intentions. But what I think, you know, the trucks need to maybe run some combo shows with the modifieds. You know, like at a Richmond, North Wilkesboro, places like that. I think it would be an awesome show, and I think that you would pack any place that you go to, with them to go racing. And I'm not saying you make the trucks or the modifieds the headline. It's a combo, so let's go. Let's just go there. This is what's running this weekend. Just like when the modifieds went to Martinsville with the Cup Series. And when the modified race was on, you saw every Cup hauler had people on the top of it. And I'm not talking people who paid to go up on top of the haulers. I'm talking the car owners, I'm talking the drivers, the crew chiefs. People were up there watching the modifieds, because at Martinsville, that was the best race of the weekend when the modifieds went there. Unbelievable. And, you know, well, I don't know. It's one of those things. And I don't know if the foam was, because they do have the walls at Stafford. Turn 1 and turn 3, I believe, have them, but the foam's there with aluminum. It's a safer barrier. Thompson has it. I think Thompson has it. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they do or not. I've only been there like 100 times. You would think I would know, but maybe they are $800. I know the go-kart club here on Long Island has foam walls. They don't have a lot of the foam, but they have. They don't. I thought they had something. You know, everything starts to blend. Every racetrack looks the same to me. I guess it's my age. But that's where it's at. You know, and maybe NASCAR needs to take a look at that to help each series. I know when we raced the race at Martinsville, and we raced the same weekend as the Cup, when you looked at the attendance, the modifieds outdrew. And the go-karts have foam. They have hay, they have tires, and they have foam, because I used to drive the trailer onto the racetrack and put the foam out. Big foam blocks. My daughter went airborne, and she missed the foam, and she ended up on top of the wall. There's foam there. You know, and yeah, the supers. You know, Mike Mosier's talking about the supers. They hit that foam and they dust themselves off. You know, but yeah, I was just putting it out there, WJ. You know, yeah, and for you to fall off the chair, that's a far drop, man. But they need to look at something. Whoever's making, the people who are making a schedule need to take a look at stuff like that. You know, why send the truck series all the way out to Iowa to go race by themselves? Well, you know what? Throw the K&N guys out there with them. Hey, you know what? Let's make a special race. If we can go to Canada, we can go to Iowa. All right? Hello. You know what? And we didn't go to Canada this year because of different promoters took over the track. They didn't have the money. They lost their sponsors. Whatever the case was, we didn't go there. And that was a race. I said it then. I'm going to say it again. It shouldn't have been in September. It should have been in June. Because the only people that are going to show up at a race that far in September are the guys in the top 20 in points because they don't want to go out of the bonus plan. Okay? I don't know. I don't know. What's the matter, Bump Puff? That's really the name, Bump Puff or Poof? You need a new computer. Well, maybe we'll raffle one off soon, but it ain't tonight. You know, a new computer. You know, but anyway, I don't know. It's just incredible, and I'm concerned for the modified series. I really, when you start losing like an Eric Beers caliber driver, or the 2 team maybe talking about sponsorship issues. Or Bob Garbarino, who's been in the modifieds for over 50 years, and he starts talking about I've had enough, and I've had some conversations with Bob Garbarino, and I'll tell you what, there's a man. Him and I didn't hit it off in the beginning, and you know, back in 2002, 3, 4, him and I did not hit it off in every race. We were banging heads, and when he didn't like something I said, he went to Ed Cox and Bill Bryce, and sometimes they agreed with him, sometimes they didn't. And then when he didn't get what he felt was his due, he'd call down south, and down south would call back up north, and we'd have a little chat and whatever. But the last race we had, I believe we were running at New Hampshire, the last New Hampshire race in September. I had the opportunity to have dinner with Bob Garbarino, and the man knows what he's talking about. And the man said to me, he goes, when you don't allow the users, meaning the car owners, the drivers, and the crew chiefs, to have input on what they're making and competing with, the users are going to go someplace else. And I didn't understand what he said at first, but driving back from the restaurant to the hotel, what he was saying was years ago, no rule changes were made until you met with the fabricator, the engine builder, the owners, the guy spending the money. You know, I don't know. I just don't know. What are we guys talking about? Wade Cole. It's enough. If enough of these guys quit, Wade Cole could win a race. Wow. Wade Cole's a good buddy of mine, man. Here's a guy. Let me tell you something. Here's a guy. And Ed Cox said this. Ed Cox, former series director, said Wade Cole is probably the only guy in the modified tour that was making money. Profit. That means a profit. That means you spent 10 and you made 15, because. So I'll leave it at that. Wade's a good friend of mine, and Wade's one of the guys that I kind of help out. You know, to my best of my ability. You know, looking forward to 2013. But and I'll tell you what, I'd love to see him get a win too. You know, and Bumpoof. NASCAR does not want modifieds. That sounds like something that Kevin Basic would say. It's not that they don't want. They want what they want. NASCAR makes money off the modifieds. I knew it. I know. You guys are beating on each other. But it's not that they don't want modifieds. The problem is you have people making decisions for the modifieds, and I could see my travel plans for Daytona race getting canceled when I say this. They have people making decisions for the modifieds who don't know what a modified stock car is. How's that sound? Coming to a race doesn't mean you know what a modified is. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. You need to know. You need to build them. You need to drive them. You need to wreck them. You need to put them back together, and then you could say you know what a modified is. All right? Just your style of writing, man, Kevin. But that's what happens. You know, when Jerry Cook was the series director, the guy was a multi-champion winner a gazillion times. He knew modifieds. And you know what? Old man Bill Bryce, the old man, he knew modifieds. There wasn't something about a modified he didn't know. And there was a lot that I didn't know that he taught me. I wasn't a modified fan. I wasn't, modifieds weren't my thing. Late model street stocks, figure eight cars. That was what I was into, And I think what happened when I was young is that the price of modifieds scared the crap out of me. I can remember sitting at ISA Speedway and the announcer, Sonny Granger, when the modifieds are lined up before their feature, he would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at over $250,000 worth of equipment out there." Now, back then, a modified, we're talking the late 60s, early 70s. A modified was about 10 grand. You had 24 on the track. That's $250,000. It's just one of those things. But when you look at a modified now, when you go to Hutter and you get a motor and your motor's over $40,000, and you go have these chassis built for another 20, and then you got to get this seat for $5. These cars are like $75,000 to go get, and you didn't put tires on them. I don't know. I don't know. It's and Mr. Moshe, you're right. It's not just it is the mindset of the team. And if you haven't been, you can only guess, and that's exactly hit the nail right on the head. If you haven't been there to watch the evolution, this is what happened in Indy. Every car again started to look the same, to the point where I believe last year's Indy 500 had one manufacturer of car, and all the cars were all the same. I believe they're all Hondas. That's what we're turning to, and that's why these guys are going. They're not allowed to be innovative. A crew chief can say, "All right, listen, if we make this and do that, and I'll gain 2/10 here and 2/10 there." By the time he's done, he's gained like 0.5 of a second over everybody else. Now you got to say, what's 0.5? That's nothing. But you know what? In 100 laps, 0.5 of a second. 0.5 of a second is 50 seconds. That gives you a 3-lap advantage if you do the math. You just beat the field by 3 laps in 100 laps. But you see, you don't have that anymore. You don't have cars getting lapped. You don't have the leader lapping the field a couple of times, And it's just one of those things. And yes, WJ, there will not be a Dodge in the Sprint Cup Series this year. Dodge is pulled out. It's pulled the support out. But this is what's going to happen. They came out with the spec motor. They didn't sell it right. They needed to sell that spec motor a little better. And when I mean sell it, I don't mean dollar and cent wise. They needed to sell it to the teams. They need to say, teams, we're coming out with this spec motor, and this is why. They need to have a meeting. They need to go to Don Honig's clubhouse in Thompson Speedway, buy a couple of pitchers of beer and some steak dinners, and say, guys, this is why we're coming out with a spec motor. But they didn't do that. So they took this spec motor, they put it in one guy's car, and one guy did okay with it. And then they went to this other guy, and that happened. You know what? They needed to sell it. They needed and I hate to say this, they needed a marketing guy to talk to these teams and to be a salesman and explain to them. Jones, because what you got to understand is loyalties in racing. As a racer, as a local racer on Long Island, I have an engine guy that I would always use. I'd only go to the next guy if the first guy couldn't give me what I needed. So there's no difference in the modified tour. Some guys have been going with Bob Bruno forever. Some guys have been going with Hutter. Some guys are going with Billy the Kid. They've been with this guy. They built a relationship. So what are they going to kick the guy to the curb? Over money? Think about it. Think about when you buy your coffee in the morning. You've been buying your coffee at the same place every day on your way to work. Every day. The same place. So the guy across the street's going to drop the price of that cup of coffee at 50 cents. You're not going to leave the guy, because the guy or gal, they know how to make your coffee, and you've been going there forever. So you're not going to go to save a couple of bucks. But if somebody sold that to you, right, you're mine. And that's what needed to be done. And they didn't do that. And that's what's missing on the Whelen Modified Tour. There's nobody talking to these teams anymore. You know, you can't go to somebody and ask a question and say, how come it's this way? You can't say because that's how NASCAR wants. You can't say that. What you need to say is, well, come talk to me. How do you think it should be? Because as my mother told me, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So the powers that be need to be part of the solution. And the powers that be need to talk to these teams and sell them on this. And don't say it's to save you money. You know what? If the guy wins the championship, if you know, Ryan Preece tells everybody that what he does is he wipes sand from Saudi Arabia on his tires before each race, I'm telling you, there'll be people going to Saudi Arabia buying barrels of sand and bringing it back to wipe tires on the race. Because that's what they do. Okay? They copy. And that's what has to change. Okay? And NASCAR, WJ comes up with these good ones. You're in the wrong business, man. For those who are not in the chat room, who were just listening, WJ is saying that NASCAR has no loyalty to anyone but Benjamin Franklin. $100 bills. You know? I'll tell you what. I was working a race. I believe it was a nationwide race. And Mike Helton was sitting next to me. Race was going a long time. Up in the tower, it's going. He says, man, Joe, you know, we need a caution. Yeah, I'm nodding. Yeah, we do. And I'm watching, doing my thing. You know, I get a little nudge on my shoulder. Joe, you need a caution. Yeah. I just want, I need a hot dog wrapper to roll on the track. I don't know. All of a sudden, I hear him go, oh, debris, turn 2, put it out. So once you say put it out, certain things happen. The person presses a button, the yellow lights go on, the flagman drops the yellow, single file, boom, boom, boom. Now I got to direct the track room. Okay, clean up 1, go to turn 2, get the debris, and they come back, where is it? And I look at Mike Helton, and he tells me it's across from the Sylvania sign, okay, boom, and I'm watching. See the guy get out of his truck, bend down, boom, boom. Now I'm looking at this other screen, it's what's being broadcast, and I saw a guy pick up a piece of metal. I was hard-pressed to see that piece of metal in my binoculars. Maybe it was there, maybe I had an obstructive view. We got the field back in order. I had to tell the TV person, I had to turn around to the TV director, we're going to go 1 to go with the line. I do that. And then I go on the radio, 1 to go with the line. Okay? We go 1 to go with the line, the field's all set, boom, boom, boom. Mike Helton says to me, understand, all we do is put on a show, and people have to pay to put on that show, and we need to get our commercials in. Remember that. And I never forgot it. I never forgot it from that day. You know, I learned a valuable lesson that day. NASCAR don't care who wins. NASCAR don't care who loses. They don't care who crashes. They don't care who has a fight in the pits. They care that the commercials are shown that those people paid for. They care that the sponsors are getting their message out. It's a business. It's show business. It's show business. And speaking of show business, I had a customer come in my store and they're talking. I had a NASCAR thing on, imagine that. And they said, oh, you're a fan? So I just love when people say that because then it just opens the door for me to talk. So I said, no, I'm not a fan. I work for NASCAR. No way. What do you do? It must be exciting. Yeah, it's a job. No, really. You ever meet Jeff Gordon? Yeah, he's just a guy like you. Well, maybe not exactly like you. But we get into this conversation, and I said, well, my nephew races on Long Island at this track. And I said, oh, yeah, I've heard that name. She goes to me, do you know he has to pay to get in? I said, yeah. I said, I bet you the clown at the circus don't have to pay to get in. She said, there's something wrong with that. I think there is too, but that's how it started years and years and years and years ago, where nobody complained. Nobody complained. How much is it to get in? The pit fee's $5. There you go. Here's my $5. Back when I started, because that's what it was. And at the end of the night, when I didn't qualify, I went to the payoff window and I was handed back a $5, plus 2 ladies' passes to get 2 people into the races next week. And now today, I owned a car in a series that here on Long Island that The pit fee was $30 to get in, and last place paid 25. No, 20. 20. In 19, not even 19, what am I saying? In 2010, in the 21st century, last place paid $20. Come on. It cost me $580 for tires, it cost me $60 for fuel, and it cost me $120 to get in with my driver, my crew chief, myself, and one crew guy. Who was the dummy? Hello, me. You know? I don't get it. And you know, when you look at other racetracks, and I've been to a lot of them, when you go to other racetracks, they're not that much different. Although Riverside Park, with Ben Dodge was running the show there, the driver and the car owner did not pay. And only the driver and the car owner had to get a license. A lot of tracks are like that. Some racetracks, if you walk in that back gate, you gotta have a license. You know? So what can you do about it? You know, what can be done about it? Well, what can be done about it is people need to express their opinion. See, the snowball has gotten so big. Because when the first snow, some promoter somewhere back, way back before I was even born, said, you know what? Not only will we charge the people to come watch the race, we're going to charge the guys to come in that race. And we're going to tell them it's insurance, it's this, it's that, in the event they get hurt. Because they never paid back then. That's why NASCAR was developed. And sometimes they even paid a payoff while the guys are racing. The promoter took off with a bag of cash. But it's tough to go backwards because the snowball has gotten so big. So big. I don't know. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue on this little rant. We'll be back.
Unitapart.com. Fast and free, the internet's top used parts locator service. Over 3 million part searches since 2001. Salvage yards, sell more parts. Become a member today. Unitapart.com. Tell them you heard it on Enravio.com. The future of radio is now. Enravio.com. Broadcasting to 6.8 billion people. Internet, radio, TV.
And we're back. Hey, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy is playing at the Paramount Theater in Huntington, Long Island, New York, Sunday, December 16th at 8 p.m. And Enravio wants to send you to the show. So give us a call now, 1-855-4-ENRAVIO. The 10th caller wins a pair of tickets to see Big Bad Voodoo Daddy at the Paramount Theater. Remember, you need to be able to get to the Paramount Theater in New York to win these tickets. So give it a call. And check out all the other shows at the Paramount. They got a lot of good stuff going on there, and they're a good partner to Enravio. So anyway, lots going on, a lot happening on this. Let's see, what do we got here? Does NASCAR insurance have to do with why people still put up with NASCAR? Is it that much better or something? All right, AJ, I'll tell you what. I think I talked about this on the show last year, but we're going to go back to September 1st, 1996. Joe's racing at a NASCAR short track, and Joe crashes into the wall big time. Injuries I sustained there where I broke my back, broke my nose, broke 4 fingers, ripped my foot off, had a subtalis compound fracture of my tibia fibula, and was in a coma for a couple of days. Didn't work for 4 months, and when I was able to get out of bed and go to physical therapy, which I went to 5 days a week for 3 years, NASCAR paid everything that my private insurance didn't cover. They paid mileage to me to drive back and forth to physical therapy. They paid the babysitter for babysitting my 3 little ones because I had little ones at home. I had a 6-year-old and 2 4-year-old twin girls. and they paid the babysitter, and they let me go to the best. When my insurance company said, no, you have to go to Dr. Quackenbush because he's in a plan, and I said, I don't want to, NASCAR said, go, we'll make it happen. When University of Stony Brook Medical Center sent me a bill for incidentals for $20,000, my insurance company wanted an itemized bill, and the University Medical Center said, we don't do that. 4 days later, they had a check from NASCAR. So, yeah, it's good. Okay? And originally the doctors told me I would never walk again. But thank the good Lord and thank NASCAR for letting me go to the best orthopedic physical therapy people, as far as I'm concerned, in this country, working with me every day. And a chiropractor coming to my house every night to put my back in line. And NASCAR paid him too. Yeah, it does pay that good. It's incredible. That $90 or $150 or $207, whatever your NASCAR license costs, it's well worth it. And I'll tell you what, a lot of competitors tell me that they didn't have the same experience. So I'm going to give you a little lesson. Because nobody's going to tell you this. The racetrack ain't going to tell you this. And unless you get the right person on the phone down in NASCAR, you're not going to be told this. But one of the things that happens is this. As a driver, if you are injured in a race car, once you compete again, because you're a hero, you're a tough guy. So what? I broke my hand. I broke my neck. Let's rig the car so I can drive it. And you go racing next week, NASCAR benefits cease. So as long as you do not compete, you're good to go. As a crew member, if you're injured in the racetrack, once you go back to work, they stop paying. Then they only pay up to a certain amount. So you do everything that NASCAR tells you to do. And when I say everything that you're told to do, and some of the things that you don't know you're supposed to do, and one of them is if you're injured Saturday night at a racetrack, a NASCAR track, and you signed into the pits and you have a valid NASCAR license, you need to call NASCAR Monday morning. You call the little number that's on the back of the card. I don't know, I think it's, 386-907 race or something like that. It's the Daytona area code, and I think it's 907 race. And you call them and you need to speak to a benefits administrator or a health administrator, and you will get a person, and I believe the name is Dana Brill. She will tell you what you need to do. She will mail you all the necessary forms and papers. You need to follow them explicitly. You need to cross the T's and dot the I's. At that point, you'll be given a claim number. Now, sometimes the track hasn't reported it yet because they didn't, from the racetrack to the racetrack office, especially when the office is off-site, might not have that report yet, and they might not have gotten the folder from the ambulance company or the EMTs. But once they have that, NASCAR has that, and they send you the paperwork. If it says send it back by a certain day, don't do the day after because it's too late. Do what they tell you to do, step by step. I don't know what the MRS has in a way of insurance. I do know New Smyrna does not have insurance. And there's a big sign above the sign-in window. Big. It's big. It's even bigger than how much you have to pay to get in. And it says on it, auto racing is a dangerous sport. You are here at your own risk. You are not covered. In that place, there's a line to get in. You go, yeah. New Smyrna runs under the sanctioning body of FASCAR, the Florida Association of Stock Car Auto Racing, and FASCAR and NASCAR have battled back and forth for years. Absolutely, they do not race like they used to. I know there was a sheriff, a local Volusia County sheriff was killed racing there, and there was no insurance. And it wasn't an on-the-job thing either. So, but anyway, if you follow the instructions that they give you, and I mean to the T, you can't say, "Oh, I forgot, I didn't know," whatever. You gotta follow. You gotta do what they say. And if you have any questions, you call them, and they were more than helpful. I had a situation where I was injured as an official, and they thought I was having a heart attack, and unfortunately, the initial report that the EMT put heart attack. I didn't have a heart attack. There's nothing wrong with my heart. I don't have a heart. I'm heartless. And what they did was, when I explained to them, they still, no, the EMT said heart attack. And I finally was able to make a contact with somebody in NASCAR, in Human Resources, who connected me to this other person who, within 2 days, it was all fixed. And it was a strange chest muscle. It wasn't a heart. You see, once you say, I have a pain in my chest, right away they rip your shirt open, perfectly good shirt. They rip open, they rip your t-shirt open, they cut it with scissors, whatever they have to do, and then they put all these electrodes on you. And what they did is they gave me a nitro pill. They said I'm having a heart attack, and all of a sudden it felt like I got hit in the head with a sledgehammer. So I'm laying in the intensive care emergency part, and I'm laying there, and I said to the doctor, I says, what happens if you take a nitro pill and you're not having a heart attack? He goes, well, you'll have a severe headache for a couple of days. Well, I said, mine just started. Can I get out of here? And I actually walked out. I checked myself out. It was pretty stupid, but anyway. But that's what you need to do, and that's not just for AJ. It's for anybody who competes, works on the car, whatever. Report your. My driver got a little banged up once at the racetrack, and he didn't report it. And he gave me some song and dance that the ambulance already left. Well, you know what? You need to report it to somebody, and he finally did, and he was kind of covered. So. I don't know. So there is one plus to NASCAR. Yeah, there's a couple. They make sure we get paid too. And I don't mean, official salary. I mean the payoffs and the purses, because I believe the ruling is if you sanction a race, the payoff or the purse has to be in the bank 48 hours prior to the event. Because if you've ever gotten paid from NASCAR, at least in the Touring Series, not in the Weekly Series, you get a check from NASCAR Awards. That's because the promoter has to send NASCAR that money 48 hours prior to the event. Weekly's a little different, so really, just okay. Poor Kevin. Oh, poor Kevin. The guy just had heart surgery. What are you picking on him for? Just had heart surgery, and I hope he's doing well. Kevin, I hope you're feeling better. But anyway. When you go to these things, and going back to the original debate I was having with myself, is the modified series is in trouble. And I remember when the Southern Modified started out, it was supposed to be a merger eventually, so we could race up and down the whole coast. And the Southern mods were supposed to catch up to the Northern mods in technology and equipment and stuff, and it was just never pushed, never enforced, and having some of those combo races, it was like, when we went to Bristol, we went to Martinsville, and it was the North guys and the South guys, and together, and it was a race within a race, and if the Southern guy finished 10th, but he was the highest finishing Southern guy, he got first place points in the Southern Tour, and I don't totally agree with that. I really don't. What I agree with is 50 cars show up to race, you're going to start 40, 10 go home. If you're first, you're first. End the story. And yeah, some of them are, but what they're doing is, for some reason they don't have to follow the same rules as the Northern Tour. They're buying the stuff that that we can't use anymore. I don't understand that either, but it is what it is. It just is what it is. But again, this is one of the things, you can't have a Northern and a Southern Tour, in my opinion. And maybe there are some of them are low buck guys, but you know what? That going in. It's like saying, like Joe Nemechek with the Cup Series. Hey, I can only do 6 laps because I don't have tires. Hey, look, this is the business you chose. Going in, if the Southern Modified, then don't call it the Southern Whelen Modified Tour, okay? Just call it the Tour. And there was a Western Tour. Chad Little is the Western Tour champion. He's a former Western Tour champion. It's now the K&N Pro Series East. Because it was NASCAR West. That's what they called it. And it was supposed to be, back then, like, when it was the Busch North and the Busch Series, it was supposed to be like the stepping stone to Cup. Well, I guess for Chad Little it was. But the NASCAR West was That's exactly what it was. It was like the minor leagues to Sprint Cup, and all of a sudden they just ended that, and then they came out with the K&N Pro Series East. So, for modifieds, I'll tell you what. I don't think there should be a north, east, west, or a south. There should be modifieds, and they should go racing, and they should get purses that at least cover the cost to go to some of these places. And I would love to see the modifieds travel. I really would. And I know logistically it might be a nightmare, but these teams have $1 million haulers, and to bring their car in, guys need to get together. All the guys in Long Island, all right, listen, I got a haul I have room for two, so I got mine and yours, and he has and you split the cost, and I don't know, but that's what you need to do. They all have these crazy things, and Ed Cox said this years ago at a meeting. You guys can't go to promoters crying for more payouts when you have $1 million haulers. You don't even make them. You win every race and the championship. You're not making $1 million. You might make $300,000. So you know what? They buried themselves. And it's one of the things you can't. I don't know what the phrase I'm looking for. I mean, you just can't bite the hand that feeds you. You can't embarrass these promoters. You can't go and crying that. It's like going to social service and saying you're starving and you got 2 loaves of bread under each arm. You can't do that. That's just my opinion. But you know what? And you can't show up with 2 cars and you can't show up with 5 motors, and you can't wreck on Saturday night at a weekly place with a car and show up with a pristine car on Saturday. Promoters don't like to see that. I mean, they like to see that you came back, but then you cry that you're not. Oh, I'm broke. Nobody told you to spend $80,000 on motors. Nobody told you to do that. But if you're running a certain motor, you gotta buy 2. It's just one of those things, But I don't know. I don't know. All the money is tied up in my racing. It's funny. And I know what it costs to race. I've been in this business a long time. I've been an owner. I've been a driver. I've been a crew guy. I know what it costs. And some guys just don't. And I know I've talked about this. You got to run your race team like a business. And your business needs to be profitable, or you're out of business. And that's not what happens. You see, you get $20,000 in sponsorship money, but you spend $50,000. Where'd the other 30 come from? Came out of your pocket. You can't go in your pocket to go racing. And I'll tell you what, I started racing in '77, and I'm only thinking, in '77, I went in my pocket a little bit, and then in 2011, I went in my pocket. What was it? 2010, I went in my pocket a little bit to go racing. Okay, I never went in my own pocket. I sold my team. I got good, and I didn't mean sold the team. I sold it to sponsors, and I did the right things for my sponsors. And we did appearances, and we did giveaways, and we made a measurable program that they could measure the return. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Other than the big one, because you can't measure the big brothers and big sisters and what I did for them in dollars and cents, but all the others, for every $1 they gave me, I could show them $3. Every single one. Big Brothers, there was other things. We created an awareness with Big Brothers and Big Sisters in Long Island. And we had a good partnership thanks to John Wellman and his efforts. And we got Big Brothers and Big Sisters involved with local schools. We got Big Brothers and Big Sisters involved with racing. We got Big Brothers and Big Sisters kids going to duck games on Long Island in the independent league, minor league baseball. We did those things. We solicited monies and funds for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Where at the Safer Banquet in 2000, and I'm thinking 7, 8, at the Safer, the Suffolk Association Figure 8 Racing, the Big Brothers and Big Sisters were handed a check for $5,000. Through my job at UPS, Big Brothers and Big Sisters was handed a check for $15,000. Right? Those are the things you have to do. So anyway. And yes, my race news, Mr. Rob Bader has sold the number 19 blunderbuss car, which competed here on Long Island, to an unknown driver. When I say unknown, according to Rob, who in the social medias, the new car owner wants to remain nameless for now. Don't know why. Maybe he didn't tell his wife he bought a car. Unspecified, that was the word. Maybe he didn't tell his wife he bought a race car. Maybe it was a woman, she didn't tell her husband. Maybe it's a young guy, he didn't tell his mother that he took the money out of the bank. But you got to respect what the guy wants, and that's it. So Rob, and I think Rovin was on here before. I'm surprised he didn't kind of talk about it. But Rob and I had a little conversation yesterday, and Rob has actually right now no plans for 2013. I know he's trying to get some things he'd like to move up out of that entry-level division, and I'm going to call it entry-level until they change it in Aruba. He wants to move up into that and maybe to a late model or a Charger. And I'll tell you what, and no disrespect to Charger drivers, but anybody that drives, and for those who don't know, outside of Long Island, a Charger car is a street stock. That's all it is. They call them Charger cars here on Long Island. A Charger car is a foolish division to be in. The cost of a Charger is close to the cost of a late model, and it's half the payout. And it's only a little bit more than what a blunderbuss car pays. He's looking to drive for somebody else because everybody wants to drive for somebody else. They don't have to go in their own pocket and go racing. And there's more to it than that. And I'm not saying this is what Rob's doing, but that's what happens. Some drivers, they'll come to you and they want to drive for you. And I'll tell you what, I had a driver come to me, call me up, wants to drive for me. And I said, what do you want to do? How do you want to work this? He goes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to buy a NASCAR license for me and my wife. And I want you to pay my way into the pits every night and my wife's way into the pits every night. And I get half the purse. So I said, well, we could probably do that, but then you need to pay half the expenses. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. And you're not getting half the purse. And pick what you want. You want the entry fees or do you want the licenses? I don't know. And WJ, I know what he's doing. I know what his plan is. And that's all good. That's all good. But I know he wants to race. And there's opportunity out there. There's things that would be would work. Him and I discussed some options, and it'll be good. So Rob Bader, number 19 blunderbuss driver under the Rovin Promotions banner. But you know what happens? You get to a point in your life where you realize that you don't need to do that. You can do there are other things in life. There are other things in life, and and I look back and look back of when I started doing this thing like full time, not this show, but the racing thing back in '77, and I look at what was missed, in life and the things that I missed out on, because my family was anti-racing. They thought racing was stupid. So it wasn't like they worked around my schedule at all. I missed a lot of things, so I don't know, maybe I would do things different looking back. But then maybe I wouldn't have. Who knows? All right? Who knows? All I know is I met a lot of good people in racing, a lot of good people. And when your chips are down, that's when you realize who your true friends are. And when I got mangled back in '96, there was a guy that I wanted to, and literally, I wanted to shoot this guy at the racetrack. And then we got a 2-week suspension. I raced, wrecked. He was the first guy to come to my house when I got out of the hospital. And it meant a lot to me that he did that. And that wasn't easy for him to do, because he didn't come in the house. He came to the front door and poked his head in because he could see me on the couch, and he would not come in. But he wanted to make sure that I was okay, and he wanted to make sure my wife and children didn't need anything. And not that, I don't know where he was going to get it from, but he made the offer, and that was, to me, that was like he gave me $1 million. But you meet a lot of people, and like WJ, I met WJ through racing. I didn't know who he was until racing, and in an unrelated, non-racing conversation, I made a comment that I needed a slide projector because my mom passed away. She had like 10,000 slides that I wanted to watch, And the next day, WJ showed up with one, and that's something that I will never forget, you know. And stuff like that, you know, and people that you meet when your street car needs work. And I'll be the first time I'm not a mechanic, but you lean on your racing buddies and they can take care of it. But there's things that I'm good at, not too many, but there's things that I'm good at that I could help those people out as well, because they're in the circle, they're in our racing circle. The racing circle. I don't know. Yeah, he was checking to see if I was alive. But we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back and we'll do a little wrap up here. But I had fun. I'm having fun with you guys tonight. This is one of those nights I wish I could go longer. We'll be back.
You are listening to InRadio.com.
Hey, this is Chuck from the Two Guys and the Chick Show on InRadio.com. Hey, you know, this last election, apparently there were only 5.6 billion unique views online. Go figure. I guess it kind of opened their eyes a little bit that internet is the new way to go. I guess you could say the future of radio is now, broadcasting to 6.8 billion people. InRadio.com.
Hey, we're back. We're back to going to wrap up. But anyway, no racing this weekend going on, at least not for me, but I will be headed to Charlotte for the NASCAR Touring Series banquet, which will be held at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. It's a good time. It's a real good time. I kind of miss going to Mohegan Sun up in Connecticut, but the powers that be felt that we need to be all together in Charlotte. So that's what we're doing. So I'll be there Friday. I'll be landing Friday morning. I leave I think the sun is not even up yet when I have to leave, and then I'll be there late Friday morning. I gotta head over to the R&D Center in Concord, do some stuff there, go check into the hotel and have a meeting with the officials and do some stuff there. Other than that, I don't know. Oh, then there's what do we got? Then we got a champions breakfast on Saturday, an officials luncheon to follow that, and a cocktail party, and then all kinds of good stuff, and then the banquet itself, and then Sunday I head home. I don't leave until late Sunday night. So, any of you going down to Charlotte for the banquet, I look forward to seeing you. But it's not like the one that was held in Mohegan Sun, where people from the Northeast could just drive there in a couple hours and be there. This one you got to fly to. So, but it was good. It was good. And I will, Kevin. I think I saw it because I've been to the Hall of Fame like 4 times, and I remember seeing the Evans video, and I didn't know that was yours. And you know what, WJ? I drove a couple of years ago, and I did it in 10. I had to prove a point. That's why I did it so fast. But my point went undaunted because it didn't matter, the point that I was trying to make anyway. But I did in 10. I left at 7:30 in the morning, and I was in my driveway at 5, and I had breakfast and lunch, and made it back. So I don't know. How many tickets? No, you know, it's funny. I didn't get any that time. Not like when I went down to Daytona that one year, and I got what did I get? A 92 and a 55. I went to Bristol. I got a 90 and a 55. Went to Martinsville. I had Mike Smokey Boken, former flagger at here on Long Island. I was with him, and I was going from Greensboro to Martinsville, and they got me for like 88 and a 55. You know, what are you gonna do? And then once you tell me you're a NASCAR guy, you know, the NASCAR official, they really sock it to you. But you know, one state trooper wanted me to come visit the judge in the morning and explain my stupidity. Then I told him I was a NASCAR official. I really needed to get to the race, and he let me go. You know, you're the man. And I don't know if I've ever. No, I have. I've made it to Florida without tickets a few times, but and that's good. Well, the speed limit is 70, so you can go 84 before they'll pick you up on the radar. And then here I am telling people what they do, and I'm the guy getting tickets. But anyway, I want to wish everybody a good week, good safe week. We'll be on next Monday. I just want to let everybody know that I believe Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve on Mondays, we will not be here. Our staff will be home celebrating with their families as they should be. So don't tune in. If you want to tune in, you got nothing to do. There's archive shows. So, but anyway, I want everybody to have a good week. I want to thank everybody for sharing some time with me. God bless you all, and have an awesome week. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Maniac, and I'm on the attack, and you're a racetrack hack at the back of the pack. You drive like my Uncle Pete. He's blind and ain't got no feet. Just one more lap till I take the checker. Add another win to my winning record, another trophy, more respect. And a great big gosh darn check. See, there I am in victory lane. I'm doused with champagne once again. There's you in last place. You got egg all over your face. See, I'm the best. I'm the star. I'm the undisputed king